Hi, my name is Grace McNinney, and this is a PowerPoint that I created for the field experience we did for our Blending Early Childhood Methods course. For my field experience, I observed 3 classrooms, 2 of which were preschool-age children. Actually, they were VPK, and the other 2 were kindergarten class. I printed out a checklist from www.austincc.edu, and then I additionally created a list of 15 teacher interview questions. I think that if I'm able to learn and hear what teachers have to say, I can make sense of some of the things I observed, and then vice versa. Sometimes there's things that you don't see just because you went in on a strange day, or there's just things that you don't get to hear, so the interviews help it go beyond just the checklist, and it was a really great learning experience. So again, the observation tools I used were a checklist and interview questions. These are a list. This is a list of the interview questions that I came up with, and I based it off of things that I would want to know being a teacher, things that I find important, and also things that went along with our classes, such as what steps do you follow or intervention strategies do you use when dealing with a student who displays consistent behavior problems. That's a question that I think is interesting to have answered, and you can see how in your observation if any of these challenges presented themselves, but sometimes they don't, so it goes a step beyond that. So for classroom 1, where the teacher interacted with the students the majority of the time, however, there seemed to be a lot of lecture, and that was on November 5th, and that was actually a VPK classroom, so a lot of the students were becoming fidgety and bored. I kind of actually was too. I also think more resources could have been incorporated. There wasn't a lot of usage of other props or situations. There was just a lot of reading and talking, and I think that maybe, looking at a picture or even showing a video or blowing a fan to make the weather patterns, because that's what the lesson plan was on, to have the weather patterns be shown to the children, that could have made it a lot more interactive and catered to the different learning styles of students. When it came to content material, the teacher was extremely knowledgeable, though, and she was extremely organized. One of the best things that she had was that she explained concepts very clearly, even though she talks a lot, and the children could really understand what was being taught. One of the things I really enjoyed watching was that she would always check for understanding with the students in some way, which is very important to make sure that she can reflect back and see that what she's talking about and what she's covering, that the teachers are grasping. And you can use reflective teaching to go back and figure where you need to change things, or where, what's going good. Classroom 2 was on November 8th, and that was the kindergarten class. The teacher was really good with maintaining classroom structure and order. She provided well-designed materials during our lesson, and she very much welcomed classroom discussion. The irony in all is that she kept on calling on the same group of students. There was about 3 of them over and over and over again, even though other students were pretty much, double raising their hands. I'm not sure if she was trying to ignore behaviors or what, but I'm sure she could have redirected those students' attention that she didn't like, but it was just the same students over and over again. And for me, that's kind of like a red flag area for me. But even though she did only call on those, she did let the children perform a song for me at the end, and she really got down with them and enjoyed her time with the children. So that was the one area during my observation, like I said, that I didn't really care for too much, and I went back and reflected over how I would have handled the situation. But again, it ended on a really positive note, and she was getting down, and they sing a song and a dance with for me, and it was a really lovely experience. The third classroom happened to be on November 19th, which was the last day for children before fall break. So the teacher that I was observing that day, which was for VBK, had a special activity planned for their students. What she basically did was she took them outside. She also took them to the computer lab, so they really weren't in the classroom all that much that day. Basically what the students did was they learned about the different animals that were alive back where the Pilgrims and Native Americans were, and the teacher also went and discussed what actual food was that they probably had at Thanksgiving. So when we went outside, parents came in and brought in food for them to share that resembled what the Pilgrims had and the Native Americans had. And you know, she used a variety of different tools. She used videos, she got out a puppet. It was very interactive, and I really enjoyed myself. She was really excellent in planning content and interacting with the children. She really encouraged the kids to open up and talk. The only suggestion that I would have is that sometimes she would kind of like talk a little bit too much, and again, when we're talking about early childhood, you kind of want to limit that, because sometimes children become fidgety and bored, and it's not developmentally appropriate for preschool students to be sitting that long. All in all, though, I have to say that this observation, in any observation that I did, was probably one of my favorites, because I really had a fun time doing that. This is my interview comparison. I really didn't want to go through every single question, so instead I put the questions that all three of them had in common, and then points that each one had said that really stuck out to me. So the most common answers people had was that they had a really strong passion and strong desire to work with children, and that's why they got, they were interested in becoming a teacher and wound up becoming a teacher. In regards to parents, they really viewed them as being their child's first teacher, which goes into one of the things that all of them seem to struggle with a lot and that they dislike a lot about teaching is when they see families that are not involved in the child's life, whether that's not picking the child up on time. When teachers said that there's a child who, has to stay about an hour or two sometimes because the parent is nowhere to be found. Not showing up for conferences even though more than one reminder has gone out, arguing with the teacher if a problem occurs. That's what they dislike the most. And they all said that they enjoyed, one of the most enjoyable moments of teaching is listening to the stuff that comes out of a child's mouth. Sometimes they're so funny, sometimes they're so interesting and so smart that it's a learning experience for them. And pretty much the underlying issue is not to underestimate a child. Don't underestimate them or think that they don't understand what's going around them, because they do. And then points that stuck out to me from each teacher is the worst lesson that was ever taught when the teachers decided that they were going to teach children about health care and their teeth. So she brought in toothpaste and toothbrushes, and she was taking them into small groups, and she turned her back for 1 second. When she turned back around, they were all eating toothpaste. They were even pouring it into each other's mouths. So she was panicked because, she was like, these parents are going to kill me, and there's toothpaste everywhere. And what she learned was that she needed to pre-plan a little bit more and write down a list of, some of the implications or, negative sides of doing a lesson and how to handle or decrease those situations from arising. Another teacher said that a weakness that they struggle with was not judging a book by its cover. Like that she said, even when I thought I had an open mind, I still see there are moments when it needs to open a little bit more. And she used an example that actually was close to my heart because I grew up in poverty. And she said that this family was coming in, and she never said anything, but she thought it, and she thinks that maybe her teaching style kind of reflected that towards the child, but that you know, the child would come in with these really nice name brand clothes and everything, but they were on food stamps, and she was thinking, you know, how is it that the mom has the nails done and she's nicely dressed and everything, but, you know, you can't afford to eat? And it just so happened that, you know, they went to Goodwill and bought name brand clothes, and the mother is a nail person and said, you know, she went up and told the teacher, and that's how they found out, and that's how she reflected back on not judging and having an open mind and to keep your biases in check. And then the last teacher, something that struck out to me was to remember to take time for yourself. Maintaining a balance is important, and most importantly, you want to work with your coworkers, but you also have to be able to say no. Because sometimes you can be walked all over, or you always want to say yes and try to help everyone, but in order to help your students the most, you have to be able to help yourself too. I really enjoyed doing this. I wish I had more time to do it. Thank you so much for everything. I enjoyed it, and thank you for your time in listening to me. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Again, thank you for your time, and have a great and happy holiday.